Hello guys, this is Joseph from Jouleconcepts. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about curvature map in Redshift. So how you can blend curvature maps and other texture materials to bring about two different texture coming up. So really, curvature map is more like the ambient occlusion map that we used to know. But then this has a little bit of twist to it and more control over how you can set this your map and where you want it to be. So I'm going to quickly show you what I have. So if you come over here, this is an illustration. This is an example of what I have here. So you can already see more like a wooden object and having the effect of it wearing out, maybe due to scratches and all that. So it's revealing the actual wood that is made of. So this is more like the painted wood on it, and this is revealing with whatever wood that it's actually made of. So that is what curvature map is used for. So you can actually use, if you notice where those things are, they are everywhere you have these sharp corners. So that is where you always have the scratches and curvature. And this simulates a more realistic effect, because if you look at real life objects in the real sense of it, it starts scratching off at every sharp corners here. That's where the scratches start off. All right, so we want to try and quickly simulate something like this. So if you look at my scene, I already have the object. This is what I was working on. So I'll go out of this scene. So I just have a plain object for the floor. I have this statue. So by the way, I downloaded the statue online. I just searched on Google and typed statue, so it gave me different websites. So I can't really remember which one. So you could just type statues on Google, you get one. Then also I have some lights. So if I turn up all this, I have my dome lights. Then the next thing is I have my top lights, which is giving light from the top, and I have my right, which is more like the fill lights, and the left, which is the key light. So that's basically everything I have here. So let's just start this and walk up. So before I do anything, I'm going to bring these settings down just for speed purpose. So then the other thing I'm going to do is I don't really need the depth of field, so I'll just come to the bouquet and disable this. So the purpose is just for speed, right? So I already have that. So let's try and create up this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to bring up Redshift render. So I'm going to scroll and zoom in. Then the other thing is to create a material. So I'm going to create a material. Alright, so this material I'm going to put on these objects. So let's rename this. It's going to be curvature text. So just to be sure, that is what I have here. So this is the curvature text. All right. Okay. So if you fire up this is what we're gonna have. So this is what I'm going to be having. So it's just wait a minute for it to. So I have this object. I've already textured the floor, so that's by the way. But what we want to work on is this object here. So if I double click here, I have this object. So I can just bring this here and start working my way out. So I will zoom into this, since this is what I want to focus on. Then I can also use this render region to render this particular region that I need. So I don't really need every other thing. This is just everything I need here. So it renders fast. All right. So I'm going to zoom into this place. All right. So the first thing is, for you to work with your curvature map, you need at least 2 texture material, then you need 1 blend material. So I already have the first texture material, so we can just call this base color. Then I'm going to bring in another texture, so I'm going to come over here, material. So this is going to be the revealing. All right, so this revealing, and this is going to be more like the paint codes. And so you already had, so that this shows that this is going to be the base object, and this is the paint we're going to have on it. Then the other thing we're also going to have is a material blender. So that is what we're going to be using to blend these two materials together and bring it up. All right, so once you're done with that, the next thing you want to bring is your curvature. So you just type curvature. So you have your curvature here. So before you start doing anything, the first thing I'm going to do is to work with first object here, or we could just drag this curvature to the surface. It's going to show you what the curvature is like. All right, so once I'm done setting this, and then I'll now add it over to this object. All right, so once you have this curvature set, let's look at the basic settings here. All right, so if you come to the general, the first thing you want to do is to set whether you want it to be concave or convex. So by default, you have convex. So what convex means is looking at every, so if I zoom in here, okay, I may have, so if I zoom in closely to this place, so what convex does is gives you every revealing part. So the one that is bulging out, that is where you are going to have that scratch on, or the curvature on. You can also change to concave. So you notice what the concave is. So you have that at every creases, everywhere you have indentation. But then you can decide to say maybe you want to add a convex and concave, or convex or curvature, or concave or curvature. So you just look at any of the option there. That will give you a particular feel of what you want. Then the next one is the radius. So the radius is more like the strength, the extent to which the curvature is going to get. So if I have 0, that means the curvature is having 0%. So if I say 0.01, so that's more like the radius of it. So can start increasing this. So the higher the value, the smoother the curvature gets. So but the default is 0.5, so you can just work with this. Then the number of sample, this is just to add more detail to it, so increase the detail. So maybe you want to multiply this, so just add more detail to that. All right, so that's there, that is what that does. Then the next thing you want to do is to come over to the ramp. So this is where the whole thing is. So the ramp, the input value, you have the minimum and the maximum value. The minimum value is more like the black value, and the maximum is the white value. So the black value is set to 0, so I have a perfect 0. If I start increasing the black value, see that I have more of the black than the white, because now I'm giving precedence over to the black than the white. All right, so you can use this to now control how you want your curvature to go. Then if I bring the white, see I have more of the white, such that it looks so blown away, and that. So you can also just work with this value till you are fine with whatever information you want. So you could just bring this up a little bit and also bring this down, just to create that contrast. All right, so you can see the effects we have. So if that's what you so like, then you can work with that. Okay, so we have this, we have more white, and bring this back. So maybe we'll have something like this. I still want to have some detail here. Okay, not too much, but just a little bit hard. All right, so if you feel you don't like this, you want to check the concave, or you can just come and choose concave. that gives you the effect. So you can always add, you can see where the concave does. Anyway, you have more like a curving inward, so you have these creases there, then convex are the one outward. So just to remind you about that. So you have that, then you also can work with the contrast. All right. So then for the bias, so what the bias does is that, so more like a smaller value is given precedence for the black over the white, and if you have one, you have more of the white. So if I bring this bias down, I have a total of black. So that means you're having the total of minimum. So the minimum is complete. So then if we have 100%, so we are giving this maximum. So the maximum value now is going to be working with this value. So if I had 100% really, so what this will do is that it's going to give us the 100% of the maximum. So let me just copy this and bring this, show you. So if I make this 100% and I come to this, you can see what we have. So if I start decreasing this, start seeing the effect, right? So that's what the bias is used for. So you can either use it to decrease the curvature and add more black to it, or add more white to it. All right. So I think I will go with something like this, 0.21 or 5, maybe 0.5. I think I'm fine with that. So this just gives more intensity to that. So I think I'll work with 0.5. Then the output also gives you the output. So I don't really change anything here. I just leave the value as this. So once you're fine with the curvature, this is what you're not going to plug into the blender to set that. But then if you look at this curvature, it looks too smooth. If we come down here and check our, you notice that this is so smooth, you don't get to have the breakage. So you shouldn't be having, if you look at this now, you notice some scratches and some breakages. So this is more like I'm adding a noise to this curvature. So how can we add that effect of that noise to this curvature? All right, so that can be used either by making use of the noise shader, so you can just make this turbulence. So also I'm going to drag this over to the surface, so you just give me a feel of how this is going to look like. So you can see the noise we have right now. So if I go to the noise, I can start changing this. So maybe I want to have a cell noise, fractal noise, or turbulence noise. Then we can start changing the amplitude and the complexity of the noise, and maybe distortion and all that. So this is what you're going to be adding over to this object. So that's working with Redshift noise. But what I did was to bring in a texture. So I have a texture. So I brought in a texture. Then this texture, I'm going to load the texture here. So this is the texture I used, if I'm correct. I think this or this. Okay, so let's check these. So let's bring this texture over here. So, okay, so this is the texture I use. But if you look at this texture, is stretched. So what I can do here now is to now come over and add in triplanar. So once I add in triplanar, so what triplanar does is to allow us to add this texture at different axes. So I'm adding it to the x-axis and the y-axis, then the z-axis, right? So as soon as I'm done with this and I drag this over to this, notice this texture is kind of uniform. So I can now come over to this texture and start scaling this value up. So if I say 0.5, so the way this Redshift scale works is the lower the value, the higher the texture, the size of the texture. So you can say that. So So if you feel maybe this is fine, you could just work with that to set this texture. Then you can change the offset to whatever you want along the X or along the Y, right? Till you are fine with whatever you have here. Okay, so once you are done with that, then you can now start adding these guys over. All right, so you want to add these two guys here. So how can we see how to add that? So if you come over to here, you have your multiply node. So that is what I use in adding them. So I'll multiply this over to this. Look at what we get now. So if you bring this over here, see the effect. So let's try and bring this over here. So maybe we'll bring this 0 and 0 and possibly try 5.5. Then come here, maybe we'll do this. Okay, so let's see what we're doing here. Okay, so let's add them together and see what we have. So we're not seeing anything, so let's try with this material. So we bring this over to this material color and bring it over here. We should have a fill. So the reason why you're not seeing that is because we can't add this directly to here, so you won't see the effect. So if I bring this to this section, you'll notice this is so smooth, right? So let me zoom in closely so I can show you that. So you can notice this is very smooth. By the time I add this multiplying mode, it breaks up this guy. So you don't get to have a smooth material on that. So that solves that. So let's say for instance now we want to now start creating this. So this is more like the foundation for this. So this is what we're going to be using to blend. These are our blend objects. Okay, so let's now say we want to have a texture, so we'll bring this out. So maybe the object we're going to be having is going to have maybe a greenish color, so to say. So this is the color we're going to have. So maybe we should even go darker. All right, so don't forget this is revealing and this is the paint. All right, so I want the revealing to have a lighter green and the paint should have this particular color. So what I'm going to do is just right click this, copy and go over to this paint. So for the revealing, I'm going to have a lighter shade of this green and desaturated. Okay, so maybe let it be more desaturated, something like this. All right, so I have the main green and I have the desaturated one. So for this desaturated one, which is going to be revealing, I don't want it to be this reflective. I want to add a bit of glossiness to it. So come to glossiness, maybe 0.35. So it's going to be a lot glossy. So let's try 0.55, very glossy. But for this one, we could add 0.3 to this. So it's a little bit glossy. So how can we now add these two together? So we come to the blender. So if I bring the object to be at the base, so don't forget this is going to be the base. This is what is revealing. So I'll click here, drag here and make it the base color. That's what I'm going to have, the base color. Then I'm going to make this layer 1. So we're not seeing the effect now, but by the time we bring this over to this layer 1 blend, we start seeing the effect. So now we are having this reversed. So I think what we're going to do now is to bring this back to this over here and bring this over here. So that should solve that problem. So you can already see the effects we have. So that's working with your glossy, your curvature map to create something like this. All right. So you can already see the effects we have it. So if I want to change this now, so let's say for instance I want to make this paint and make this a metallic object. All right, so more like a paint overlap. So what we can do is for this guy we might need to increase this value. So let's say 6. So it's going to be, so let's try 4, 5. So this is this. Then for this revealing object, so what we can just do is come here, make this 9, 9. So you can start seeing the metallic part of it coming up gradually. So there we can just come in and add a ramp, and that ramp is what is going to help us change this metallic object to look a bit more realistic. So we come to this ramp here, change this to always. Okay, so we're having this issue here. So what we'll do is come to this and bring it back. And bring this over to here. I think over here. I don't really think we need this actually. I think we don't think we need that. So what we just need to do is come in, increase this even a bunch, and then possibly I think that is just pretty much it. So if you feel you want to still add more code to that, you can just increase that to add more. So if you look at these effects now, you see what we start to have. We start having this metallic feel on this object. So what you can just do is come over to this, go to the base and make it black. So it's about, okay, so we have that. So that's just it for curvature map, how you can work with curvature map and blend material to blend objects together and have the feel. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a thumbs up and a like. And also you could just tell me what you want me to talk about in the next tutorial in the description below, and I'll try my best to do that. And if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe because I do tutorials like this every time. So once more, I'll say do have a wonderful day and God bless you. Bye.